Call is now being recorded.
Good morning, Manoj Babu.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. अभी देर है मीटिंग रोहन सर।
पता नहीं कब 6:30 तो टाइम दिया था। टाइम रिवाइज हुआ है क्या?
नहीं, राहुल का आ रहा था कि 6:30 वी विल स्टार्ट।
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody.
गुड इवनिंग सर।
Good evening, sir.
Rahul.
Good evening. Very good evening. Nice to see you after such a long time.
Same here.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Samir. Everyone enjoying extended vacation.
Now it's become boring, sir. The vacation has turned boring.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Purari, sir.
Some technical issues at my end. Oh, आ गया मेरा एक काम करेगा, इसको ऊपर कर दो तो।
Good evening, friends. Welcome to this 10th edition of webinar organized by Jharkhand Legal Literacy Forum. Friends, as I have witnessed that Jharkhand Legal Literacy Forum has been continuously organizing the webinars over this pandemic period. Today, in continuation of the webinars organized by the Jharkhand Legal Literacy Forum, we have a legal luminary in front of us, former Chief Justice of Kerala High Court, former Judge of Patna High Court, and Senior Advocate of Supreme Court, Shri Navniti Prasad Singh. I welcome him. I welcome all the participants in this webinar. I request Mr. Kumar Vaibhav, Advocate, Jharkhand High Court, to kindly welcome our honorable guest speaker, Shri Navniti Prasad Singh. Over to you, Vaibhav.
Thank you, Rahul. Very good evening to one and all. It's a great honor and privilege for me to present I had practiced with the Honorable Patna High Court, also on the High Court, diverse categories. I was designated as senior advocate in the court. Thereafter, I was transferred to the year 2007. That was transferred to the year 2007. After to retirement, in the year 2017, that had again been practicing for also before various other courses. I had the privilege of appearing before such matters and also continuing some matters. My interactions with her in have learned from him to have clarity on facts as well as to have simplicity arguments while presenting the matter before the court. What we as members of the bar were life concerned is meticulous preparation and simple yet hopeful presentation. It is so effective that even issue educated about. I am now one and all my colleagues extend a respectful to welcome Mr. Request him commence the webinar by addressing us on the topic evolution of legal profession, traditional challenge and knowledge. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. As Mr. Webber, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Do I begin? Should I begin?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Good evening, everybody, and namaste. Now, before I begin, because this is a subject which I have not read anywhere or prepared in any manner, it's just my reflections. And I don't mean to offend anybody if I inadvertently say something. That is just what I feel, how things have developed. Now, this actually had come to my mind first time when, in fact, in the National Judicial Academy, about 6-7 years back, I was a resource person in respect of training of senior judicial officers, that is, district judge level officers. And there I just asked them, are you aware why do you wear a band? And to my surprise, not one of them were able to say why the band and what is the significance. Now that set me thinking. I started talking to different people, trying to find out exactly what are things. And that is how it had been in my mind for quite some time. So when Mr. Sabu approached me, I really didn't know, because lacking the intellect of that level, something down to earth had to come out. So I said, might as well talk on this. At least I would be imparting some education to young friends and others. Now the subject, as you must have noticed, is evolution of legal profession and position of judges and lawyers. Now, it has taken a very long time for the profession to reach at the stage at which it is. We see every day conflict between the bar and the bench, the latest being no exception. Now, to understand the relationship between different parties, position of different parties, it is necessary to understand the process of evolution of this profession. And I wish to start from the very beginning, that is, ape. I had earlier thought of the topic as ape to chief judge, but I thought that would be inappropriate and people would protest. But that is what it is actually about. As we understand, or rather as I understand, and pardon me, I may be wrong, but that is my impression. Homo sapiens came from apes. We were all animals. But how come that one particular branch of animals evolved in such a way that ultimately we had the human species? The others remained animals like apes and other animals, maybe tiger, lion, etc., etc. What was the difference? What happened? there was a small genetic engineering that had taken place. Some of the animals got the power to rationalize. The others lacked that power. And that is what made the entire difference between an animal and a man. The apes, which had the power to rationalize, came down from the trees. They started questioning. They started rationalizing. Their behavior became rational. Whereas the other branch of animals, they lived on what we call as animal instinct. Whenever a tiger or a lion sees a deer, the only thing it can think of is food. It's a very, very rare exception, which people might have seen on the National Geographic, where a lion befriends a deer. But that's an exception. Otherwise, a lion would always see a deer as a food. It would not admire a deer for its beauty or otherwise. Now, that is the rationality which makes a difference between an animal and a human being. Now, once this rationality or the instinct to rationalize increased, people started noticing things. They started making implements. They started forming families. Some people amongst them started noticing that the day begins with sunrise. Warmth comes from the sun. Plants grow because of the sun. Darkness brings misery. They defined day and night. Everywhere they found that sun dominated their life. So they started giving prominence to sun. Now this handful of people from amongst the group of people looked upon sun as something supernatural, which controlled their behavior of the ecology around them. Now, they could not explain what sun is, but they knew that it had an overbearing effect on their lives. So they decided to call it or worship it, and then came the origin of God. That it was a power which was controlling our behavior, our lives, over which we had no control. Now, once God was created and accepted, the society also grew. Roles were being ascribed to different groups of people according to their intellect. Now, there was no IQ test, but as a person grew up, he showed certain inklings. Now, there were a group of people who would notice a lot of things, could rationalize to a greater extent, could reason, could remember, and in their own way catalog things. They started cataloging that yes, though the warmth comes from the sun is not always that hot. They cataloged the movements, and then came the concept of seasons. But this was not known to ordinary man. Now, this group of people could then predict having observed over a long period that there would be a seasonal change. They found that there would be winters, there would be summers, there would be rainy season, there would be autumn, spring, things like that. But these people were far and few. They avoided sharing this knowledge. The result was they started acting as superiors in their own family. Now, the family there was the society in which they were growing. This gave rise to dominant people in a group. They were dominant because they could predict certain things based upon their power to rationalize and analyze, which others were lacking. They would notice a lot of things, that plants would grow better in rains. Plants needed sunlight and water. Now, this they would not share with others. And they started predicting that if you do this, if you put the seed here at this time, it will grow. Now, these people were looked upon as a sort of leaders. But then they lacked the physical strength.
और मेल की और डेट को चाहिए तो कौन सा इसमें ये नीचे एनेक्शन में कौन सा डेट आता है ये हम ऐसे भी जानकारी के लिए पूछ रहे हैं
May I request Mr.
लीगल
Sunit
नोटिस में
Singh,
ऊपर में डेट था जैसे पहले का और 28 को
unmute
मेल
your
किए
mic.
तो 28 का ही डेट होगा ना
वो
Mute your mic.
ऑब्लिक 28
ठीक है
28 ही कैसे होगा
ठीक है हाँ बस यही कंफर्म
May I request the participants to kindly keep the microphone in the mute mode?
Now, slowly, two types of people, rather three types of people started growing. One, who had a physical strength and who acquired certain knowledge, and they started dominating the society. The other, who could rationalize and had developed knowledge to a greater extent than others. We have already seen that God had been created by them, and for various reasons during the evolutionary process, it took different forms. As time came by, these people who had the physical strength and the intelligence, they started dominating their society and developed into what later we know as kings or rulers. The others who had just the intellect and through their observation they could predict what would happen, how it would happen, having studied it at a higher level of intellect, they became a sort of, with no offense meant to anybody, agents of God. Because they could start predicting that, see, the sun will come out here. Now the weather will turn cold. And people couldn't understand. Now these people could say, they did not know that these people were studying the whole thing, rationalizing and memorizing. It was nothing extraordinary. It was simple science which they were working on. But anyhow, having done that, they were the people who were associated with God. Later on, as it developed, they took the place of priests who were agents of God, who could introduce you to God. Now, each society, each developed into a civilization. So far as we are concerned, in the south of Sindhu, this was the Hinduism and the Hindu community developed. With the aid of the ruler, with the aid of these pandits, as they were known, codes of conduct were developed. later on what we call Manusmriti. They were all laws as we know it today. They are all codes of conduct. Students of jurisprudence would understand what code of conduct leads to. Similarly, in the Mediterranean, a civilization was developing, that is the Jews. From that came the Christians. There also, the evolution was similar. They also had the rulers, they also had the priests, they had their gods. But one thing was common, that all these civilizations, including the Egyptian civilization, the first god which they had was the sun. Because everyone noticed the importance of sun. Then came the Mohammedans. For various reasons, finding some deficiency in Christianity, some deficiency elsewhere, a separate group of people started a separate faith. But then, there also the same thing happened. They would have a ruler, they would have a Maulvi, they would have their own code of conduct, the Shariat law. Now this developed and went on developing. With the development of the society, growth of society, disputes started arising. Now disputes, everyone immediately noticed something which at times we lack today, that they had to be settled and solved in an amicable manner. Now immediately it came upon the king to settle the disputes. And whom he would consult? It would be the Pandits or the Maulvis or the priests. And therefore the priests started telling the king what the law is. The king was put in the position of God and everyone looked up to it. Now that in short is how the legal profession started. For the Muslims, it was the Maulvis, they were doing it under the Shariat law. The Christians had their own church and the bishops were there. We had our Pandits. These systems developed. Till we had in India the Britishers who came in through East India Company, and then after 1857 the Crown stepped in. For their own good, to administer the newly acquired territory of India, they thought it proper that instead of the diversified laws that applied, that is the Shariat law somewhere, the Hindu law somewhere, which had their own concepts, which was not acceptable by them, that they should enforce the Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence and the system of law in India. Some of you must have seen a lot of times on WhatsApp and otherwise comes the statement of Lord Macaulay, who was the author of Indian Penal Code, one of the best drafted statutes ever, where he made the speech purportedly in the British Parliament after visiting India, that he had seen the richness of India and he did not find any beggars, because India was being projected as a land of beggars, snake charmers. He said, no, to the contrary, it is a very rich country with a very rich heritage. And if the British want to rule India, they have to break this heritage. Now that is exactly what they did. The entire system of justice, which was based on the Hindu concept or the Muslim concept, they were all slowly removed and replaced by the Anglo-Saxon jurisprudence and the Anglo-Saxon legal system. And what was that? That was that the priest in the church would advocate your cause before Almighty the God. Now that was the position of a lawyer. That is where we as lawyers get our gown. If you have seen, you will find that the priests in churches wear the same gown. The color changes from the occasion to occasion. The band which we wear is the band which the priest in church wears. And that is actually the cross of Christ. When we say bar, it is not bar that opens at 7 p.m. or bar behind which people are put. It is the bar of the Christ in a church. So that is how sacrosanct our position as a lawyer is. That we are the priest who will do the right thing and uphold certain principles. In a temple, we will not say wrong. In a church, we will not say something false. We stand at the bar. When the court says that, gentlemen at the bar, we take your statement, means it is bar of Christ where you are making virtual confession and you don't make a false confession. That is the status of a lawyer when he gets up to argue. Now we come to the role of judge. The judge is the person whom the priest is addressing. And who is the person whom the priest addresses? It is not the king. It is the Lord. Lord here is God himself. So when the lawyer addresses the court as my Lord, he is supposed to be addressing God, which means that whatever he says has to be truthful, clear, with clear conscience, nothing hidden, nothing false, because God knows everything. But at the same time goes the responsibility of the person hearing, who in the present case becomes the judge, who adorns the position of God, who does not distinguish between different persons or different causes. And he listens. Each time the lawyer says, my Lord, he is reminding the judge of his position, that you cannot be partisan, you have to be open, you have to do justice. You have to know your responsibility. The judge is reminded 100 times in a course of one case his position. Therefore, when we find lawyers nowadays saying that we should not address judges as lords, maybe they are correct in trying to give up their colonial past, if I may say so. But then it served a purpose. It reminded the judge of his position as to where he stands and what he is to do. Now, if you see that this is the position of the lawyers and the judges, and this is how the position of lawyers and judges have evolved, or this profession has evolved, you will now understand why we always love to say that legal profession is a noble profession. We don't say that a painter by profession is a noble person. Why? Because he is an ordinary worker compared to what our onerous duty is. You will also appreciate how valuable our contribution as a lawyer is from the fact that in our gown, you'll find there is a small pouch at the back. Or it was supposed to be, till it was given up by a lot of people who don't realize. Now that pouch was supposed to be a place where a litigant who would come to you with a cause seeking judgment and you would argue his matter, he would just put the money. The reason was that your services were invaluable. It can't be valued. So whatever you received and you did not care for it. It is because of that the system of solicitors came about, that they would not plead, but they would solicit the case and receive the remuneration and pay it to the arguing counsel. That is how the whole system evolved. And that is why it is known as a noble profession. So next time when you get up to argue, kindly remember, you are wearing a priest's gown, you are wearing the cross of Christ, and when you are arguing before His Lordship, you are arguing before God. You have elevated the judge to the position of God, and you are addressing God Himself. And that is why you are members of a noble profession. Therefore, when you say something about the judge, be careful of your criticism, because virtually you are trying to criticize God. At the same time, a judge has to keep in mind that he is a judge and his conduct is being watched by others, and his conduct has to be compatible to the position he holds, that of God, to do justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us about our legal profession. You have beautifully explained and the glory of our profession, the role of judges, and the position of judges and the position of lawyers. Now, I would request the participants, if they have any questions, they can ask the questions from our honorable guest speaker.
I have a question. Namaskar, sir.
Yes.
Sir, this question came to me very often. The question is that very often we are being told that we are not supposed to thank someone in bench. When we say that a judge holds a respectable position to that of a god, then why aren't we supposed to thank the judge?
You're very correct. You never thank the judge. You always say, we are obliged, your lordships.
Yes, sir.
You never say, thank you, because judge is doing his duty of a god.
Okay.
That is his duty. So right or wrong, whatever he's done, you may think it is wrong.
Yes.
But so long as his verdict stands, he's right.
Yes.
And you are obliged to him for it.
Thank you, sir.
You can thank me.
So one question, if I may ask.
Yes.
Sir, when we distinguish it from the contempt of court and the contempt of judge as a person, we can always criticize a judge for his personal behavior outside the courtroom.
Then you are not
as a contempt of judge.
No, then you are not criticizing the judge.
We are not criticizing the judge.
You are criticizing a person.
Correct. So why it is taken that a person, when the judge is in his personal role, he is criticized for something, why it is taken to be the contempt of court or judge?
No, it's never taken. It's never taken.
Right.
It's never taken. There is a distinction. if you ascribe a conduct of a person which reflects upon his performance as a judge, it is only then the question of contempt comes.
And one more thing, sir.
I will just illustrate. I'm sure
Right.
this is what you have in mind.
Correct, sir.
If the gentleman had commented that so and so was riding a bike,
Right.
there is no contempt. But he went a step further and he said that he, holding a certain position, was enjoying a bike ride while closing down the courts.
Correct.
So that is the connection to which an offense was taken. A person has different, for example, with due respect, a person, he is found gambling. He may be a judge. Now, if someone comments upon his gambling, it can never be contempt because gambling is not a part of his career as a judge.
Right, sir.
So that distinction has to be kept in mind. You can't comment upon working of a judge. Kindly go back to the Constitution. Even in Parliament, the conduct of a judge cannot be discussed
Right.
unless there is a motion of impeachment. That is only to secure the independence of judiciary.
And uphold the majesty of justice.
It goes with it.
One
Yes,
question, sir.
Samir. Yes.
Sir, one question. May I put one question?
Yes, yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, my lord. My lords, I can address my lords and sir also because you
My
fit in
lord-
both capacities.
My
You
lord
fit in
has
both
left lordship
capacities.
long back.
Yeah, but you fit in both capacities. You spoke about the role of judges. I just want to request you if you can throw some light on the concept of judicial activism and judicial overreach. What is the
Well,
fine difference?
it's a matter of perception. Who is at the receiving end? One who enjoys it will say it is activism permissible. The one who suffers would say that it is an overreach. Ultimately, we have to see what is the aim of the judge. What is he trying to achieve?
Right, fine.
If the object is laudable, it comes within judicial activism, permissible. If it doesn't tally with your concept of justice, then it is an abuse.
It means it will vary from man to man, individual to
It
individual.
does. Kindly read Amartya Sen's famous treatise, Inequalities of Law, in which he gives example that justice is a floating concept. What may be just for me may not be just for my neighbor. I would like to build a multi-storied house on my land to accommodate my family and my friends and make money. But in the process, I will be blocking the light of my neighbor. So I am doing justice to myself and my cause, but injustice to my neighbor. But then he can't complain because I am doing it on my own land.
So because, my lords, recently we have been hearing a lot about this concept of Lakshman Rekha. Every time the parliament, the judiciary, recently, it was not before 2030
You
years.
see, no, it has always been there. It has always in different forms. You see, Lakshman Rekha is nothing which is fast and drawn. It shifts from time to time. Some people can get away with something, some people can't. So let us not go on to that, but we must keep in mind that there is an institution and it is individuals who constitute the institution. And everybody, not one side, everybody has to live up to the standards of the institution.
Yes, yes, correct. Thanks. Thanks, sir.
Yes, any more questions?
Sir, can I ask a question, sir?
Yes, Mr. Samin.
Sir, some of the judges in Supreme Court and High Courts, they are trying to propagate the idea that the judges should not be called my lords, rather they should be called sir. So that is in direct conflict with the idea of the bar and the
Yes,
the
yes.
role of lawyers, which we are.
You see, that is precisely what I pointed out. Most of the people just attach my lord to colonial aspect,
Yes,
without knowing that from where my lord had come. But now if the my lord has problem with my lord, then it is their prerogative. For example, you will find House of Lords has been replaced by the Supreme Court of United Kingdom.
Yes, sir.
Just last week, I was seeing a live argument there where the Chief Justice and all the four other judges who were sitting there, they were all in suit and different color. They were not even all of them in black suit.
Yes.
Whereas the barristers who were arguing, they were in prim and proper, those wig and band and gown and things like that. And the barristers were addressing them not as lords, as your honor and sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Go to America, in the US Supreme Court. Not always the judges come with their band, gown and all. They are wearing just a gown and there is a zip in front. They are wearing a suit underneath.
So in my view, sir, there should be a formal atmosphere to make sure that there is a respect, there is some atmosphere in the court between a lawyer and a judge, and the court to maintain the court atmosphere, sir. A judge should be called my lord, and a lawyer making a
respect comes from within, and respect comes for someone. Now both the sides are responsible. One has to command a respect. You don't demand a respect.
Yes,
if you start demanding respect, you are likely to be abused.
Yes,
you must command respect.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
My lord, your lordship has thrown light with regard to the evolution of the judicial system. Now, in your opinion, how far there is change in concept from God and the priest by the passage of time in the recent years, my lord?
Well, God and priest have commercialized. Can you hear me?
Yes, my lord.
The concept was of God and priest.
My lord.
And we were a part of profession. Now, you must realize what is the difference between business and profession. Unfortunately, we have now given up profession and we have also joined hands as businessmen. And therefore, God and priest are all commercialized now. That is evolution. You can't help it. From the time when you had the pouch where you did not count what money was coming, here in 6 figures and 7 figures the payments go. So it's all commercial now. It's actually no more a profession. It's become a trade or a business. That's unfortunate, but then that is the truth.
With your permission, my lord. My lord, you have thrown valuable light on the evolution of concept of lordship and our position in bar and bench. My lord, I want to know one thing, where the path diverted from lordship to your honor in district courts, my lord.
No, I didn't understand. I didn't understand.
My lord, in Supreme Court and High Court, we call judges as lordship. But in district court or circuit court, we call them your honor. And if judges are, as seen by historical purview, they are seem to be God or Lord. Then why this difference? Historical purview, I want to know.
You see, it all again comes from the Anglo-Saxon legal system, which was imposed upon us, wherein the law lords who were formulating policies wanted to keep lords. To me, that is what the explanation is, a preserve of the higher judiciary. And therefore, a distinction that High Court onwards, it was lordships, and below the High Court was honor.
Thank you. It's matter of hierarchy. Thank you, my lord.
Because now I find in the Delhi High Court while appearing, your honor is very commonly used for judges in the High Court.
My lord.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering the queries of the participants of this webinar. Now, I request Mr. Avnish Ranjan Mishra, Advocate, Jharkhand High Court, to kindly convey the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sabuji. Thank you, Sabuji, for giving me such pleasant latitude. A very warm evening to all. It keeps me on cloud 9 to deliver vote of thanks to all the dignitaries in such fiesta webinar. Firstly, I would like to thank from heart and soul to our esteemed honorable guest, Speaker, Honorable Shri Navniti Prasad Singh, from bottom core of my heart for such an informative, inspirational thought poured in his deep experience and knowledge. The way in which he explained evolution of legal profession and position of judges and lawyers was simply unparalleled one. I would like to thank to all the dignitaries assembled here in this Zamburi occasion, including technical experts and one and all who organized this successful webinar, who are behind the curtain. Thank you again, Sabuji, for organizing such series of webinars. Once again, I would like to thank one and all assembled here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir.